and welcome to my video about my gravel bike that I used at Gravel Worlds. I personally think it's the most AERO gravel setup you've ever seen on a gravel bike. You're probably here because of the thumbnail or because this is my first YouTube video I'm posting. I think it kind of goes with my theme of being the AERO dork in the gravel cycling community. My Onbound bike got a lot of love, and there were several people who reached out and said that was probably the fastest or most interesting bike setup of 2024. I have to hard disagree with that. I think this Gravel Worlds bike setup is the fastest, most unique setup. It didn't get as much attention because Onbound is crazy, and Ben Delaney's video almost has 100,000 views on my bike I used at Gravel Worlds. So here's my bike setup that I used at Gravel Worlds. Me and Bill from CX Harris, him and I do a little bike review before the race. So we're going to play that video right now, and then after that we're going to do an analysis.
Let's take a look at this bike. Why don't you just walk me through what we got here?
Yeah, so we'll start, probably the most noticeable thing is this disc wheel. It is a head jet, or I like to call it the head Jetporia, because it is a Emporia rim, which is their gravel rim. It's 26 millimeters internal, so good for those wide tires. And then what they did for me is they put their disc, or their jet disc AERO fairing onto that rim. This is, if you look very closely, R&D testing only. So this is one of a kind. I have actually ran a disc in gravel racing before, but it wasn't built for wider tires. Speaking of tires, risk taking, I did have 35 millimeter GP 5000s on this morning, Continental. But just there's a couple sections where it's loose. We have some really good bike handlers who could attack me in corners with those. So I went to a 45 millimeter Continental Terra Speed. This is only 1 watt slower than that road tire I was talking about earlier. Maybe a little less AERO, but I don't have to question whether or not I'm gonna get attacked in the minimum maintenance roads, in the corners. These provide really good handling. They're quick. These are the exact same tires I broke away with Keegan Swenson at Valley of Tears. So I know they're fast in flat hero gravel conditions. And then I should probably talk about the bike itself. This is a Lauf Segla extra small. So if we hit some mud, this thing has huge tire clearance. I can fit 2.2 inch tires with 0 issues. But these are just 45 millimeter. So yeah, lots of tire clearance. So honestly, I kind of hope it's muddy, because last year, when everyone else's bike clogged up, I was able to ride away. So crossing my fingers that the traditional Friday night thunderstorm comes and those minimum maintenance roads around mile 30 hit. And then, of course, it's a Lauf, so how can we not talk about their True Grit fork? This thing has 30 millimeters of suspension, eats up all of those little bumps that happen out on the gravel roads. It also means I'm more comfortable throughout the whole ride. It's easier to ride in the AERO bars because it is eating up those little bumps. And Silka did some wind tunnel testing, and compared to a standard fork, it is 5 watts faster. So it is a little bit heavier, but it smooths out your ride, and it's a little more AERO. I think it's worth the cost and weight, especially on, it's not a flat course out here, but it's one where you can average 22, 23 miles per hour pretty often. And then, yeah, I think that's it for this machine. Yeah.
Thank you, Chase. All right, by the time you all see this, hopefully Chase will be already a couple miles ahead of everyone else and making it fun to watch tomorrow. We're going to send it back to you all.
What's funny is when that was recorded or was shot, I was actually off the front. So now we'll head over to the power analysis where I compare myself to some other folks that finished around me. So hopefully you guys enjoy that part. Okay, so we're on Strava to do a little breakdown. I ended up getting 6th at Gravel Worlds. Probably my best results of the year given how deep the field was. There was like John Borstelman, Pete Stetna, Russell Finsterwald, Simon from over in Europe who's crushed it last year. So, yeah, we'll do an analysis of the power. So, as you can see, I averaged 237 watts, normalized 267 watts, and that's over almost 7 hours of racing. So, not the craziest average power or normalized power. I was probably 72 kilograms around this time, around 160 pounds. Just life stress made me bulk up a little bit. So I ended up riding with Daxton most of the race. Him and I were in the breakaway from mile 30-ish to mile probably 120, 130 before everything broke apart. So I think comparing our numbers is good. I think Daxton is a little lighter than me. So he's probably 4 kilograms, 5 to 10 pounds lighter. So he did an average of 238 watts. So only 1 watt more, but he is lighter. So I did less watts. I was pulling on the downhills for most of the part. So for me to do less watts, that's pretty impressive. I also had aero bars, but like, again, this course has 10,000 feet of climbing. You could say the weight could have made me do more watts, especially if I didn't have an aero setup. So I think that really played off. He did 267 normalized, so the exact same. But if we go from where we broke away, so mile 30 to let's say 130, 130-ish, he did 246 and 266 watts normalized, whereas I did 242 watts. So in our breakaway, I did 4 less watts and a few watts less in normalized. So again, I'm not saying this is a huge watt savings, but I am heavier and I did less watts. So science would say normally I should have to do more watts, especially on a hilly course like Gravel Worlds. If we go to the person who got first, Simon, he ended up doing 267 watts average. So, yes, he did win. He won by like 5 minutes in front of me, but he did 30 watts more average. And he was in a group for most of it. I was in a group of 3, so not much draft when you're in a group of 3. If you look at second place, Eno had aero bars. He is heavier though. So I would say he's probably heavier than Simon. He's another great example of why aero bars are amazing on the Gravel Worlds course or just any course in general. I don't know why people whine about aero bars. Speaking of whining, we do have Pete Stetna, hater of aero bars, probably 20 pounds lighter than me at this race. And he did 30 watts more and only beat me by 20 or 30 seconds, I think, or 2 minutes. So like, dude, I mean, from mile 30 to we got caught at 130. So we traveled the same distance at this point. He did 268 watts. I did 242. That's a lot of savings. So again, I really think my bike was the most aero setup, like fastest bike that's been put together in the gravel scene so far. Hopefully I can top that in 2025. So yeah, we're done with the analysis now. Thanks for following along. Let me know if I should run this bad boy more in 2025. Leave a comment if you think aero bars are stupid and they should be banned because they're dangerous. Let me know if you have had a dangerous experience with them. Subscribe. I'm hoping to put out more content like this, maybe some race breakdowns, some ranking videos, kind of just everything. and give this video a like if you enjoyed it, even though the video or audio quality may not be the best. Still trying to figure out this microphone. So thanks. See you guys more in 2025.